hobbies. While we're talking about literary influences, I want to tell you about another book. This came out about 1.5 years ago. It's called Texts from Jane Eyre. It is by Mallory Ortberg, who was the editor-in-chief of The Toast until it shut down recently. She's working on a novel right now, much to everyone's great delight. And she basically takes characters from literature and imagines what sort of text conversations they would have. It is hilarious, and I highly, highly recommend it. Our next reader is Amanda Bloomer. She is a writer whose work has been described as really neat, sweetie. And oh, would you look at that, by her mom and dad. She's been in the Nashville scene and McSweeney's, and she is excited to tell you the story of her first fake boyfriend. Amanda's story is titled Teenage Wasteland.
Now, the phrase first fake boyfriend implies that there were others, and that is accurate. Here's the story of the first. I'm tempted to tell you about how Nora Ephron got me through a divorce and made sure that I would never stop laughing at my own misfortunes. And I would love to talk to you about how Joseph Campbell freed me from the tyranny of religion, or how the poetry of Billy Collins taught me to be a better humor writer. But that would just be shameless name dropping. So instead, I will tell you the truth, that my first and deepest literary love was Heathcliff. That detestable, yet delectable bad boy from Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. Now in high school, my hobbies included having a broken heart, crying alone in my bedroom, and listening to the Cranberries. I think I would have been goth, but my private school dress code didn't allow statement clothing. The school's mission statement was, and I'm quoting this from memory, but I'm pretty sure it's spot on, to teach children core values such as nuclear families, traditional gender roles, and white people. So while I was afraid of going to hell, so I didn't do anything drastic like cutting my hair or saying the word feminism out loud, I was happy to make Heathcliff the Wade Crybaby Walker to my Allison Vernon Williams. For any Crybaby fans out there. Unlike that stuck-up Catherine, I would have happily degraded myself for him. Heathcliff was an orphan, and there are some pretty heavy-handed hints in the book that Heathcliff is black, or at least a gypsy, so our love affair felt like the most rebellious thing I could possibly do at that small private school. And besides, what more could I want out of life than a boy who loves me so much he is incapable of being kind, even to me? Catherine herself said, whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. When Mrs. Crosley read that aloud to the class, I cried. Not the dainty crying of a waif on the moor, but the panting of a St. Bernard, profuse with great moisture. Miss Crosley was the English teacher, a pretty woman who was just outside of the reach of young. It was rumored that she had a husband, but one who lived in her basement and never went anywhere with her. That seemed to explain why she talked about Heathcliff a lot, but in an odd tone, like one a person might use to describe a fatal car accident in great detail. You would ask follow-up questions, even though it was obviously painful for them to answer. Asking, where did Earnshaw find Heathcliff again? Felt like asking, how much blood was pouring out of that bike messenger's ears? She would answer, but she didn't like it. Miss Crosley asked us one day to share our favorite lines from the book. Trevor, who sat in front of me and smelled like cigarettes and motor oil, used Heathcliff's own words. Enter fake boyfriend too. If he loved you with all the power of his soul for a lifetime, he couldn't love you as much as I do in a single day. I nodded my head slowly and spent the rest of the hour staring at the back of Trevor's head, convinced that he would be compelled by his passion to one day dig up my lifeless corpse. Thank you. I hung quotes from the book on my bedroom walls, or rather, I pinned them to the bulletin boards that my dad hung and leveled meticulously on my walls. He had explained to me that hanging teenage paraphernalia directly on the walls would ruin the paint. So while my room was otherwise tastefully decorated with sunflowers and lace pillows, I had this small corkboard of one's own onto which I fit all of my self-expression. A poster of Beverly Hills 90210, a list of the Super Mario levels I couldn't beat, and all my beloved quotes, scribbled small on napkins and paper corners. Emily Bronte, who wrote my Heathcliff into existence, knew why those words were important. She knew what all readers know when she said she could just read them and be reminded of something so stunningly beautiful that for just a second the world would not seem like it was going to crush her. After an evening at a teenager party where I would be largely ignored by Trevor and the rest of the boys, I would go home, read my quotes, and cry, lying as still as possible on the floor, totally not sympathetic at all. And I would imagine that I had died and they were all begging me to haunt them. It's not that. My mother would open the door, see me laying there, and say very gently, "It's okay, honey, those boys will come around once your hair gets just a little longer." I am friends now on Facebook with that high school English teacher, and 15 years after introducing me to Heathcliff, she lives in Morocco, alone, writing for travel blogs. She left that bad boy who'd made her young promises he couldn't keep, and is living the cultured life of a fully actualized woman. It seems like such a triumph, but sometimes I stop on one of her pictures, look right into her eyes, and I wonder, while she is inspecting a vintage rug or sampling spices, if she doesn't sometimes stop and look up to find that she is still just out on the moors, searching for a soul that is made up of whatever hers is.